for me, the kind of evolution of all of that, I've watched it happen, and it's made me sit down and think sometimes. I'd written 3 books. I had written Running Loose and Stoughton and The Crazy Horse Electric Gate, and all of them I got really good reviews on all those books, probably 90% of the time. There'd be a few reviewers that thought I went overboard, and they said, "Geez, Crutcher puts everything in a book, and he's in blah blah blah." But it was most of the time I was getting good reviews. Down at the mental health center, and I'm working as a therapist in the world of abuse and neglect, and my expertise was supposed to be adolescents and adults. There were other people who worked with the little kids. And for some reason during this period of time, and it would be kind of the middle to late 80s, I had an extraordinary number of teenagers who had had some kind of sexual mistreatment in their lives. I think I had like 5 girls and 3 guys. And just one day I was sitting in my office, I was doing some individual, we did a lot of group treatment, and then we did some individual treatment, and I was listening to a story, and I thought, this girl goes to a school right here in this town, and there is no way anybody in school knows this story. Because if I have stuff in my life that's secret, the only thing I have control of is the secret. I get to decide who tells. And I thought, we don't talk about this. And I went back and I was looking through the kind of the stuff of young adult literature. There was very, very little of it. And I thought, one of the cool things about a story is you can put the story out there and we can all talk about the story. And having been a teacher, I'm thinking, there are a lot of things that made me pretty uneasy, especially down that alternative school in Oakland, to talk about. But we had a story to talk about. It gives everybody a little bit of breathing room. And you can kind of feel each other out. I don't have to tell you about my life. We can look at this character's life. And it gives us all just a little bit of room. And by that time, that's what I thought the value of the story was. So I wrote a story, and the book was Chinese Handcuffs. And it was a pretty rugged story, and it was rugged for me to write because I was living it all day long, and then I was going home and writing about it because at the time I wasn't making a living as a writer yet. And I finally got it finished, and I had the best editing that I've ever had because I had 2 of the girls that I was working with were just voracious readers, and I was having them read this book chapter by chapter, and I said, if you read something in there that doesn't sound right, I need to know it because I cannot afford to get this wrong. So they were really on. Boy, they were tough editors. So by the time it got to my editor, it had been edited pretty well. And my editor at HarperCollins I love her, and I have a different editor now just because she retired, but she handpicked the new editor. And the 2 things I liked about her was she had nothing in common with me history-wise. She grew up in New York City. She was on the East Coast, completely different life than I had. So when she reads the story, it's like the story either works or doesn't. But I don't have anybody with my history to say, well, to fill in the blanks. She calls me up and she said, "Is this real?" And I said, "Well, yeah, it's real. I changed the stories. But yeah, it's real, and it's not anywhere near. I haven't written all I know." And she said, "Okay, but there's going to be some heat." I said, "Okay," because I kind of like heat.